Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're diving into something truly fascinating. We are looking at the idea of using concrete, hard-nosed economic metaphors to understand psychological recovery, and really, the reconstruction of our very identities. We so often talk about healing in these abstract emotional terms, but what happens when we look at our emotional lives like an actual economy? Like what happens when we start tracking our behaviors the same way a forensic accountant tracks money?
To really set the stage for us, I want you to consider this foundational thought from Bill W. He said, "I found my stability in giving, not by demanding I receive." This just brilliantly captures the whole central theme of the ideas we're going to unpack today. It marks this profound shift from a demanding, self-interested, emotional economy, where we're constantly trying to extract value from other people, over to a stable, giving economy.
Which leads us to a pretty provocative question. How do you audit a damaged identity? Think about it. Just like a struggling business that's hemorrhaging cash, our emotional lives sometimes require a strict forensic accounting of our deficits. When relationships are breaking down all around us, vague promises to just do better aren't going to cut it. We actually need to look at the books.
That brings us to part one, the 168-hour audit, taking stock of relational debt.
In Moral Reconation Therapy, or MRT for short, there's this 168-hour weekly audit. It establishes a very concrete baseline of exactly where your time goes and where relational damage has occurred. Your identity can actually be calculated as an equation. On the subtraction side, you're actively releasing the debt of past pain and the secrecy of shame. And on the addition side, well, you build wealth through embodied presence and service. So you are quite literally subtracting toxic liabilities and adding valuable assets to your emotional balance sheet.
But let's be real, auditing isn't easy, mostly because we instinctively try to cheat the system. When people fill out a relational repair plan, they often try to pay off emotional debt with these generic promises. Things like, "I'll pay more attention." That right there is a policy-level repair. But true repair requires episode-level behaviors. You absolutely cannot pay off a specific relational debt with some vague mission statement. You have to pay it off with concrete, observable actions on, say, a random Tuesday afternoon.
Moving right along to part two, the deficit phase, subtraction and harvesting. This is where we explore the really dangerous ways we hoard past pain and actively extract value from others. A major liability on anyone's balance sheet is holding on to what we call a pain identity. Now, it turns out staying tethered to your trauma can actually be highly profitable. Crazy, right? But why? Because it attracts the currency of sympathy. For someone who's used to getting negative attention, this sympathy acts as a crutch. It's like a steady income of validation that ultimately keeps them totally trapped in a state of emotional debt. Essentially, you become addicted to the payout of your own pain.
So, what specific behaviors are actually causing this relational bankruptcy? First up, there's stacking. This is giving someone divided attention by looking at your phone or device while you're physically sitting right in front of them. Then there's harvesting. That's treating a shared moment not as something to just be lived and enjoyed, but as material to be extracted and used for later. And finally, library dominance. This is when you hide behind intellectual analysis the minute someone shares a vulnerable feeling with you. Let's look a little closer at that last one because it so vividly contrasts two very different mental states, the library versus the kitchen. Intellectualizing our feelings in the library keeps us stuck in debt. It's hoarding knowledge as a defense mechanism. The kitchen, on the other hand, represents unstacked active presence. It's the messy, real-time giving of yourself that actually builds true relational wealth. To figure out if you're currently operating in the library or the kitchen, try out the Alzheimer's test. Ask yourself this right now. Would the hour you just spent with a friend still be worth it if they forgot every single word that was spoken? If the interaction depends on some future return on investment, you are just harvesting. You were stuck in the library. True presence in the kitchen holds absolute value in the moment itself, regardless of any future payouts. Okay, let's pivot to part three, identity by addition, investing in new currency. Once you've audited your deficits and cleared out that toxic debt, you have to pivot toward making active, positive investments. This identity shift happens in two distinct phases. First, you subtract. You realize that you are not your pain, and you expose your secret shame to the light so it basically just dies. Then you actively add. You adopt the virtues you admire in other people, and you find stability in giving. You're purposefully investing in traits that yield a long-term emotional dividend. It is a complete swap of economies. You're trading in the bankrupt currency of hoarding negative attention for the incredibly robust currency of providing service to your community. Service provides true stability, and it completely removes that volatile need for people to feel sorry for you. And when it comes to repairing the relationships that you damaged while operating in that old economy, the steps are auditable, and they are strictly ordered. Step 1, acknowledge. Step 2, apologize. Step 3, change. The absolutely crucial point here is that change must come last. People so often try to lead with change because, well, they want immediate credit up front. They treat forgiveness like a transactional loan that they're demanding right this second. But true repair requires acknowledging the debt, apologizing for it, and only then doing the long, hard work of behavioral change.
Which brings us to part 4, the dividend, the non-transactional self.
This is the climax of this explainer. The goal isn't just to, be nicer. It is a heavily audited shift away from self-interest and into absolute selfless service. 10. That is the magic number. To officially exit the injury stage of recovery in the MRT program, an individual must complete the strict minimum of 10 hours of selfless service. But hold on, these aren't just any 10 hours. The parameters are rigorous. You must help strangers or the broader community, and you absolutely cannot expect anything in return. Helping family or friends, that's explicitly excluded because we subconsciously expect a payout from our loved ones. And finally, every single hour has to be physically documented and signed off by the recipient. It completely transforms this vague idea of giving back into a strictly audited, non-reciprocal action. There's actually a fascinating mathematical debate in the source material regarding how you calculate the true value of these investments. If you spend $200 to get a homeless person a hotel room, the transaction itself only took you about 30 seconds. But you've just provided 15 hours of shelter. The emotional investment isn't measured just by the friction of your transaction, it's measured by the real-time value it provides to the person in need. Time is time, and value is value. This perfectly leads to a really powerful reminder regarding someone who actually lost their job to technology. It goes, AI may be brilliant, but you're not artificial. You're an original. Don't let the loss become the identity. An authentic identity isn't some prefabricated trauma response. It's built manually, step by step, on the hard assets of integrity and selfless service. So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this final overarching question to consider. What is the true currency of your emotional recovery? Take a close look at your own ledger today. Are your daily actions, your unstacked presence, and your service building real relational wealth? Or are your silent demands and hoarded pain keeping you trapped in emotional debt? Ultimately, the audit is yours to run.